Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So, Liverpool 2, Arsenal 2, in a game which I think, for me, it's one of those games where it's kind of hard to process exactly how I feel about the result. On one hand, going away to Arsenal and the way that they've been over the past couple of years and getting a point is obviously a good result. So, from that respect, I'm glad that we came away and we didn't lose. But given the Arsenal team going into the game, especially when when you consider the fact that they had a lot of players out injured, the likes of Calafiore, for example, the likes of Saliba, for example, Odegaard. I would have wanted, and I probably would have expected Liverpool to go into that game with a bit more impetus, thinking to ourselves, well, you know what, this is a perfect opportunity for us to grab all 3 points here and come away with the win. But instead, it it was a game where we kind of like limped through until the end of the game, and I don't really think that we necessarily played all that well, in my opinion. Um, and I've come away feeling frustrated more than anything with the actual result, and not necessarily with the result itself. I think it's more to do with the performance itself, and by that, what I mean is there's something that I mentioned in a previous game that we had, and it was to do with Liverpool's passing, and it's literally the same again. It's like we come into a game, where you're thinking to yourselves, where okay, we can go at that, we can go at Arsenal in this game, we can give them a really good go, and we can like actually start to really prove that we are title challengers this season. And then you have a performance from, and the biggest culprit I'm going to say for this was Trent, where he's trying crossfield passes and completely scuffing the ball to their players. Like, I think it happened 3 or 4 times, like on these occasions where he tries this crossfield ball, which normally, to be fair to him, he does it quite, it almost looks natural for him to be able to do that. But today, there was one where he completely scuffed the pass and it just basically rolled, along the ground and it was intercepted. There was one towards the end where he completely, he tried to hit the diagonal ball, but it ended up going straight, intercepted by Declan Rice. And there was a number of occasions where, not just Trent, but one of the things that I found most frustrating, when you're watching the game, is that especially in the second half, they'd made their changes. They'd lost, for example, Gabriel. They'd lost Timber. This was the opportunity now for Liverpool to, really start to pile the pressure on. And he said what we were doing was we were camping them back outside their own area, and we were just passing the ball from side to side, side to side, side to side, and there was just no movement from the players in and around the box. I got frustrated at one point because I saw Darwin Núñez standing over on the right wing rather than actually being in the middle, like where, you want him to be as your number 9. And then it always came to the same situation that when we're passing it from side to side, we're working it around, then suddenly we try an over the top through ball, or we try and slide a ball in the gap, and it'd always go either straight to Raya, it would be cleared, or it was overhit and would go out for a goal kick. Like it happened more times than like I care to remember in that game. And I think that that's probably what I found the most frustrating part about Liverpool's performance today, is that I felt it for a few weeks watching them, but we just don't seem to get going. It's like you expect a Liverpool team, especially in the past with the likes of Jurgen Klopp, that we would have multiple gears that we could go through. If a game wasn't going our way, we could always step it up another gear and then another gear and another gear, and we could end up blowing teams away with the way that we're playing our football. But so far this season, it just doesn't feel like that. Playing away against Arsenal, okay, I get it. A point is still a good result. But you would expect a bit more urgency, especially with the injuries that Arsenal have got, especially with the fact that, this is going to prove that you are, title challengers this season. A win away against Arsenal really does, signify your intent for the season. But instead, we just seem happy to get the ball, knock it around, pass it here, pass it there, and then a wasted ball, a crappy pass, and then suddenly we were under pressure. Defensively, there were times where we looked good. I'm not going to say that we had a shocking performance defensively, but then there was times where we looked incredibly naive. In the first half, Virgil van Dijk, for no reason, getting involved in a fight with Kai Havertz, giving them an opportunity to swing in a free kick. It's that kind of naivety that, especially from Virgil, you just don't expect. Robertson, for the second game in a row, looked poor. He looked completely out of his depth against a skillful, pacey winger. He just looked like he didn't know what to do. There was also a Van Dijk situation where they swung a ball and Van Dijk missed the header. it was Van Dijk's trailing leg that played them onside for their goal. And when you for their second goal, and when you look at the these individual errors, that okay, we can come away and say a point against Arsenal, it's a decent point, I'll take it. But it's I want to see Liverpool either be rock solid at the back, or we're gonna really sort of take the game to teams, and we'll just try and outscore them. Instead, what we're doing is we're looking a little bit naive at the back. And then when we do get the ball, we're going to pass it round. And it's like we don't really seem to sit anywhere when we play like this. But yeah, for me, I think one of the biggest frustrations I've got is it is the passing. I don't understand why you watch other teams, for example, and they have certain players. So, for example, if you take Man City, for example, Kevin De Bruyne, he's going to be on point week in, week out. His passing's always going to be a certain way. He's going to be good. X, Y, Z, and it's going to be the same way week in, week out. When it comes to Liverpool, we can have one game, like if you go back to, for example, to the Wolves game, our passing in that game was shocking. And then, we then go through the next set of games. Chelsea, I don't think we looked particularly great against Chelsea, but we got the result. Against Arsenal, the passing, again, it's just not very good. And it just makes me wonder, what's happening whereby players that normally Trent can hit 50-yard diagonal balls, and then today, suddenly, it just felt like he couldn't pass. Now, I know he was involved in the build-up for Salah's goal, but it's something that, I'm growing more and more frustrated about watching Liverpool play against teams like Arsenal and just not showing up, almost looking like they wasn't really up for the occasion. Like for me, going into this game, like as a fan, I was buzzing that this is a really good opportunity to take 3 points off, a solid Arsenal team. Boost our title credentials, but also B, weaken theirs at the same time by taking another 3 points. And I think that would have put us like 7 points clear of them if we'd have won. But instead, it almost looked like we were happy for the draw from the moment we kicked off. But that being said, we did manage to get the point in the end. I think there was one point where I was seriously doubting it. I just felt that we just lacked that creativity, and then it just took one moment of a really good ball down the line from Trent, Darwin using his pace and aggression to get in behind, and then the little cut back to Salah. And obviously, he's probably the one player on the pitch you'd want that cut back to go to at that moment. So it was a good goal. The first goal as well. The corner kick came in. Diaz got in front of Havertz. Little flick to get the ball back across, and Van Dijk reacting very quickly to get his head down and knock the ball in. 2 good goals in my opinion. And obviously it's good to come away to Arsenal and not lose. Score 2 goals, don't lose the game. It's important. I think also that's our first goal in the last 15 minutes of a game this season. So it's good to get that chalked off. And also Mo Salah, big congratulations. He's moved above Jermaine Defoe in the Premier League scorers chart and now in line with Robbie Fowler. So we're doing well. We're in certain aspects. I just really want us to start improving on the other parts. I'd like to go into games and we've heard a lot from Liverpool, especially when Slot took over, about the philosophy, the whole kill them with passes, so on and so forth. And yeah, we seem like we want to kill them with passes. We're just not very good at passing it, sometimes. And it's frustrating to watch a Liverpool team where, you're going to have it more and more and more where teams, at one point, Arsenal had every single player around their box defending. And, okay, these situations are going to be hard to break down for any team. But then when you try and chip a through ball over the top and it just goes out for a goal kick, it's a waste of possession. It's a waste of that momentum you've got in pegging them back, and it's just a cheap way to give the ball back to them. Again, if you have a chance against a team like Arsenal who are defending so stubbornly, and you want to hit a 40-yard switch of play from Trent Alexander-Arnold, and number of times it's cut out by players like Declan Rice, something needs to change, and we need to do something differently in those games to make sure that we get the result. But again, let's try and be positive. It was a good point to have. I think there was a few performances out there that I thought were okay. I thought Curtis Jones done okay. I don't think he particularly excelled in the cam position. I think he looked better for example, in the Chelsea game from a deeper position. But I don't think he necessarily played badly. I thought Salah, and to be honest, I thought Salah, it was quite a quiet game from him. There was a number of times where I think there was one in where he tried to whip the ball at the back for Diaz, but he waited too long, so Diaz ended up being offside. There was the chance that he had when Mikel Moreno's loose control, and then he tried to hit a first-time shot and ended up putting it quite far wide as well. But he was on point for his goal as well. So, you know, that if anything, as I say, if you want any player to be in that position for that cutback to come to, Mo Salah's the one. I thought Diaz, he had a chance for a good game again today, up against Thomas Partey playing at right back. You'd really want to see him, you know, give him a horrible time, much like what Saka done to Robertson. But instead, I think there was only one occasion where he was able to beat him, put the ball through his legs, got inside the box, skipped past Ben White, and ended up just overrunning it and kicking the goalkeeper instead. So I don't think that he really done much. But at the same time, when Gakpo came on for him, don't really think Gakpo done all that much either, to be quite honest. Darwin, so there's a lot of things about Darwin that I love, and there's also things about Darwin that I don't love. One of the things that I do love about Darwin is there was an opportunity that they had where they were attacking down our right-hand side. Darwin was there in a right-back position, winning the ball and kicking it out of play. The work rate that he has is tremendous. The fact he's willing to get back and do the hard work and do the defensive work, for me, is fantastic. The issue I have with him, obviously the same as what most Liverpool players will have, comes around goal scoring. He doesn't score enough goals, but he doesn't help himself either. There was a number of times where Liverpool are pinning Arsenal back, and you want your number 9 to be in the middle of the area. You want him in the middle, so when the opportunity comes, he's facing goal and he's just got a simple tap in. And then you look and Darwin's not there, and then you try and find him, and then he's posted up on the right wing, or he's posted up over on the left wing, or he's dropped back outside the area for some reason. And you can't help but think, well, this is one of the reasons why you're struggling to score goals, because you're not getting in those positions. You know, like a Diogo Jota, for example, he has that intelligence to know how the play is going to build up and where to be at a specific moment. I don't think Darwin does. So therefore, get yourself in a position to be a menace, drag players away from the person with the ball, move and create some space. But instead, when he's on the left wing or he's on the right wing, or he's wherever he is, he's allowing their back four to just stay as a solid back four, and then there'll be no movement between them. Instead, of him getting in between the two centre backs and then pulling one side, dragging one out the way, and creating a little gap that someone like a Szoboszlai can exploit. You don't see that from him, which is why it's a bit disappointing. That one of the things that I'm mainly disappointed about him, because if he did learn how to do that, even if he still wasn't scoring as many goals, you could see that he was there to create the opportunities, to create the chances, to pull players out of the way, much like what Diogo Jota does. However, that being said, he did get the assist today for Salah. It was a good run. And then the little cutback, managing to get it beyond, I think it was Ben White who was their last man, pulled it back behind him for Salah for a simple tap-in. So, I'm pleased with that work rate that he's got. I just want him to be a little bit smarter when it comes to, knowing where to be in and around the box to be able to sniff out an opportunity and sniff out a chance. Midfield, McAllister, don't think he done very much. I watched the game with my wife, and then when McAllister came off for Szoboszlai, her words were, "Oh, was McAllister playing?" So it says a lot about him. Obviously picked up an early yellow card, which would have impacted his performance on how he could have played. I think that, it's kind of one of those for him where, again, I like to see him further forward. I think he's a very creative player. I would like to see, perhaps in today's game, rather than having McAllister being the deeper line player, I'd have put McAllister forward in that number 10 position and dropped Jones back so he can carry on with that deeper position. That's something that I would have potentially considered. I don't think having Jones as the more forward midfielder worked very well today, and I think that you also don't get the best out of McAllister when he's playing in that position. Like Gravenberch, I don't think he done much wrong, but it wasn't really a game that he was going to excel in. Arsenal, they were dropping Martinelli and Trossard back to create a 5-man midfield, which meant that Liverpool were overrun on a number of occasions in midfield, which made it hard for Gravenberch. Obviously, we see him quite a lot helping Trent out over on that right-hand side or dropping back and winning headers. And he done all of that today. There was one moment where in the centre of the pitch. He done well. He won the ball. He spun around and then ended up blazing a shot about 52 yards wide. But all in all, I don't think it wasn't really a game that we were gonna look back and say, yeah, he was fantastic in. I do like the way that he did pick up the ball and try and drive forward, but again, sometimes the passing wasn't great, or sometimes we just sort of lacked the movement for him to be able to do that effectively. Going into defence, again, Robertson, I think he just had a poor game. I think it was the same against Chelsea. When he's up against a fast, tricky winger, he just seems to struggle at the moment. I don't know why. It just seems to literally, he's been good, played against Chelsea, terrible. And then he's just followed on from that. I don't know if there's an injury or something that he's carrying, which means that he doesn't really want to face that particular style of player, maybe. But yeah, I don't think he had his best game. I think Tsimikas, when he came on, he looked better. He won the ball a couple of times by stepping forward. He was getting forward as well into Arsenal's half. He was along that left-hand side. He was pushing beyond Gakpo to try and get the ball. But then obviously we just lacked that creativity in the final third. But I liked the way that he was pushing further forward than Robertson was. He wasn't afraid to step up and win the ball. So I think maybe in the next game we'll probably see Tsimikas come back into the starting role. And I don't think really I can blame Slot for making that decision. Van Dijk, again, going into what I said earlier on, there was a few moments from him where it was from someone who's normally one of the most calm and collected centre-backs in the Premier League. I saw a few things from him that made him look naive at times, as I say, leaving that trailing leg to play Marino onside, getting involved in some fisticuffs with Havertz and giving away a free kick. There was a time where he went for a header and completely missed the ball, which is something that we don't often see from Virgil van Dijk. But on the whole, he was good. He was winning his challenges. He was winning his headers. He was strong. I think he could have done more in the first half to help out Robertson, especially for Saka's goal. I think once you see Saka running at Robertson, you'd like to see Virgil busting a gut to get back and cover him just in case. But instead, he kind of does that jogging, walking thing that he does to kind of like get back. And like by the time he was able to get back anywhere near it, Saka had already scored and was running off to the corner flag to celebrate. But yeah, Konate, I thought he had a really good game. I think Konate, he was solid. I think every time Martinelli stood up against Konate, Konate won the ball. And that's one of the best things that you can say. He won his duels, he won his battles, he was strong, he was commanding, he didn't look awed by the situation. So I thought Konate had a really good game in my opinion. Trent, I thought defensively didn't look the best at times. I think he didn't defend bad against Martinelli. I think he has learned in compared to previous games. There's a few times where he wanted to show Martinelli on the outside, and when Martinelli took him up on it, Trent got his body in the way and stopped Martinelli from being able to progress. But then there was also times where he tried to show a player on the outside. When they cut inside, it was just completely beaten. All ends up. But normally what you'd say about Trent is what he lacks defensively, he makes up for when it comes to going forward and his passing range. But that's where he really let himself down today, in my opinion. I think his passing, his just his passing really was poor. Like every aspect of it just didn't look very good. Defensively, I don't think he was solid, but I don't think I'd necessarily say he was any worse than what, for example, Robertson was. But then when it comes to Trent's passing ability, normally that's where you know he's going to excel and that's where he's going to do good. But because his passing was so poor, it just made his overall performance look really bad. So yeah, I don't think he played very well. And Kelleher had a good game, in my opinion. Couldn't really do much about either of the two goals. There was a really good moment where he looked like he was going to boot the ball long, come back inside, and end up putting Havertz on his arse. So that's always good to see. Couldn't have done anything about the two goals. Not his fault. Saka's goal was a really good bit of brilliance in terms of cutting inside, Megan Robertson. They're just flashing it really quickly near post before Kelleher really had a chance to react. And their second goal, I think because of where Marino was, his distance from the goal, there was not really much that Kelleher could do in that position. He had basically a free run, and it was just the speed and the placement. Even if Kelleher would have dived, he wouldn't have got anywhere near it. So can't blame him for either of those. So when it comes to man of the match, for me, I am gonna give it to Konate. I know when you come away from a game and you say, oh, we conceded 2 goals, you normally can pinpoint some areas where in defence where you'd probably say, okay, they didn't play that well. But I think Konate was strong. My brother texted me during the game and basically said that Martinelli doesn't want the Konate smoke because every single time he went up against him, Konate won the ball, and Konate just looked. He looks like the more calm and assured centre back. So for that reason, I'm going to give Konate my man of the match. I think obviously Salah for his goal, you could look at him and say that he played well. Outside of that, I don't really think anyone else deserved it. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on the game. Let me know in the comments below. I know I probably come across as a little bit negative, a little bit salty, a little bit frustrated, because I probably am. But let me know in the comments below. Do you agree with what I've been saying? Do you disagree? Did you see something that I didn't? Do you think Liverpool actually played quite well? Do you think that we deserve more than the point, or do you think we deserve less than the point in that game? But yeah, let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like, subscribe to the channel for more content. Again, looking to get back into creating more content regularly. There's a lot of stuff I want to talk about around the Trent and Van Dijk and Salah contract situation. There's news that I've heard that I want to create some videos about in the coming weeks. So stick around if you enjoy this. It'll be glad to have you a part of the family. So yep, take care, and I will speak to you all soon. Goodbye.